Hey guys, Dantixy bringing you some quick Dragon's Dogma news. The ESRB has released a summary explaining their mature 17+ rating for the game, which goes through some very saucy details. So we'll be covering that and the recently released Mystic Spearhand trailer, which honestly has me pumped. So let's dive right in. First, the ESRB has rated Dragon's Dogma 2 a mature 17+. It contains blood, gore, language, sexual themes, and violence, which we would expect for a game like this. It's coming to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series, but the most important part is the summary. Let's take it line by line. This is an action role-playing game in which players assume the role of a former prisoner trying to recall their past and save the world from an evil dragon. Pretty standard introduction. You explore the game and find out why you're an arisen. From a third-person perspective, players explore open-world environments while completing quests and battling various enemies. Players use swords, spears, arrows, and magic spells to kill human and monsters in frenetic combat. There are obviously more weapons than the ones listed, but this is the gist of the game. Now the summary starts to get interesting. Battles are highlighted by cries of pain and frequent blood splatter effects. A handful of cutscenes depict gore, a monster decapitated in slow motion. The head can be carried and used as a weapon. A dragon pulling out a human character's heart. This leads me to believe there will be a Medusa type enemy you can decapitate and use as a weapon, which makes sense because Medusa was in the first game and in Dragon's Dogma Online. Being able to whip out her head and turn enemies to stone, or at least stun them, will be a huge boon in a game like this where you get some serious damage off when enemies are downed. The question is, will this be an activatable item that you can use like the lamp? We've seen that you can simply hold down a button and then select one of your favorited inventory items without having to jump into the menu, so it wouldn't be too hard to use if so. Or will this be specific to a vocation? We know in order to unlock anything but the basic vocations, you need to gather a vocation-specific weapon and bring it back to a master. Given the randomness of the trickster, I wouldn't put it past the devs to have this as a vocation, though it's more likely to be an item everyone can use. The dragon pulling out the player's heart was the start to Dragon's Dogma 1 and will be the start to Dragon's Dogma 2, it's just how you begin your journey as the Arisen. Moving on, now begins the spice. Player characters can interact with sex workers, exchanging currency for services. A brief sequence depicts the player sitting on a bed with a prostitute, both wearing underwear, before the camera fades to black. One cutscene briefly depicts characters kissing and rolling around in bed, no nudity. 10 years ago, I wouldn't be surprised that you can pay for a prostitute's services. Now we aren't getting graphic scenes, so don't expect that, but I'm sure there'll be some kind of benefit. There has to be a reason to spend your hard-earned cash. I hope for a Skyrim-like Lover's Embrace buff. There needs to be more than seeing your character rightly getting laid before getting pounded into the ground by various oversized monsters. They deserve that much at least as a baseline, so you can engage prostitutes, but the summary mentions a cutscene depicting characters kissing and rolling around in bed. This doesn't seem very prostitute-y, so it does suggest building a relationship with characters. Maybe an NPC, maybe a pawn, but it wouldn't be incorrect to expect relationship building in this game. So all you true RPGers out there, rejoice, a fundamental basic of role-playing is in the game. Moving on, 2 monsters are shown with bare breasts, though with no discernible details, i.e. no nipples. The word shit appears in the game. We know that there are monsters in the game that take on forms of women, like the Harpies and the Sphinx, so the fact that they have breasts shouldn't be a surprise to anyone but the hardcore Kotaku writers. It also shouldn't be a surprise that the word shit appears in the game. Honestly, these rating systems, man, are kids gonna really be damaged by reading the word shit and seeing pixel breasts more than caving a human's head in with a battle axe? Anyway, moving on. The Mystic Spearhand, one of the most interesting looking vocations, has just been highlighted in a trailer. Fast, fluid, and dangerous, able to paralyze enemies, shoot magic at range, teleport, and more. The developers have described the Mystic Spearhand as a sort of glass cannon, able to dish out a lot of damage but take very little. To me though, it seems like it's a jack of all trades. Here we see a griffin, typically hard to reach for a melee class. Not for the Mystic Spearhand though. He opens by paralyzing the beast, then using a charge-like attack to close the distance, then a teleport which sets him right on the back of the beast. I mentioned in my last video that the Thief might be one of the best vocations for attacking weak points and climbing large enemies. Well, the Mystic Spearhand seems to have it beat. Here we have him launching off a paralyzing bolt, then using a charge to close the distance, using a basic then heavy in order to do a finishing move on the wolf. The Spearhand then uses some kind of Trafalgar Law or Magneto-like bubble which captures any movable objects within it. He releases the spell to throw everything captured at the Chimera. In this case, it was just the wolf's corpse, but it is an awesome looking attack. Multiple wolves? No problem. The Mystic Spearhand can twirl his spear around like the leader of a marching band. Perhaps you can hold down the light attack in order to twirl because this doesn't seem like a weapon skill specifically. Notice the shockwaves that come off from the attacks. Here we see the player avoiding enemy attacks, casting a paralyzing bolt, then paralyzing wave to hit and stun all enemies. Then uses some kind of ultimate ability to strike all enemies around him with a flurry of combos. Reminds me a lot of Juggernaut's ultimate from Dota 2. While this is an effect, you get a magical clone which mirrors your actions. It vanishes once the combo is done. Here we see the Mystic Spearhand facing off against a Chimera. Typically a hard fight unless you target and remove weak points. Remember how I said this vocation may be the best at that? Well, he starts off by sending out a ranged magical slash, which is yet another way for this class to attack ranged or flying enemies. He then uses that charge, which goes up vertically in order to reach the creature's head. After some basic attacks, he uses that teleport to get on top of the beast and strike at the weak goat head part of the enemy. No silly climbing up legs needed. You have all the skills to get you where you need to go. So the Mystic Spearhand has a lot of movement related skills, letting it avoid damage. It has ranged attacks, meaning you won't be reliant on your pawns to take down those flyers or enemies that are peppering you from range. It has a lot of AoE sweeping strikes, it has combos, it has ways to take down big creatures and strike at their weak points. Also, for those who have played Dragon's Dogma 1, it deals both physical and magical damage, which means you won't be slowed down when you face an enemy that's immune to one of those damage types. The Mystic Spearhand so far is the most interesting vocation I've seen, but we have more that is yet to be revealed. So that's everything. What did you think? Are you more or less excited for Dragon's Dogma 2? Let me know below. If you want to talk to me and like-minded individuals, jump into my Discord. For everything RPG, you're in the right place. Ciao friends.